I'm changing all of mine to female because I don't pass as a man anymore.
Unless he's planning to go around without speaking.
I just got my gender changed on my driver's license in the free state of Florida. Female.
Thank you for bringing this error to the department's attention. Your public comment will help ensure compliance with Florida law to prevent similar errors in the future.
That is absolutely brilliant.
Fellow non-binary friends, this is going to be a tough 60 seconds, but very necessary. If you have an X as your gender marker on any of your important documents, or if you have different gender markers on different documents, consider getting that changed. I have an X for like unspecified on my passport. I love my X. It gives me gender euphoria. And that is, I'm giving that up for the next 4 years because I want to live. While we don't exactly know what the next president is going to do, he has said that he wants to establish law that there are only male and female as recognized genders. I hate it too, and I think that as non-binary people, we need to have a very serious discussion about what we pass as in society and what would be the safest markings for you to have on your important documents. It's a shitty thing to think about, but knowing what you pass as best is going to maybe save you a lot of trouble down the line. And while our genders are our own experiences, they still require participation from everybody else that we interact with. And I don't want either one of us to lose out on jobs or housing or anything that's going to require our legal documents, because it may well become legal to discriminate against us. For example, I'm changing all of mine to female because I don't pass as a man anymore. I'm permanently transsexual. I'm never going to ungrow tits, and I don't want to. I have various feminizing procedures coming up, and I'm not going back. And right now for your social security card, you only get 2 choices anyway. And if you live or have a license in a hostile state, having that social security change may help you get those other documents changed. I'll do another video on that later. Suck it up and do it now while you have the time. Grieve later and know that no matter what that thing says, you are who you say you are. I believe you, other people will believe you, and we got to get our legal documents in order to keep each other safe.
I mean, wow, this man, if he thinks that anyone, I mean, to be fair, maybe someone might think that he's a woman until he opens his mouth. I mean, unless he's planning to go around without speaking for the foreseeable future, maybe he'll be able to get away with it and pass. But as soon as he opens his mouth,
from a distance.
Yeah. If that's okay, so the X gives him euphoria, but it seems like the F is kind of giving him euphoria here as well.
Agreed. I think any kind of sort of attempt for him to gain the system and gain clout is giving him euphoria rather than it being a gender thing.
This is almost like maybe I'm being cynical here, but maybe he's always wanted to say that he's a woman, and this is like giving him the opportunity to say, I had no choice. I'm legally a female. I was made to because Trump says there's now only one or the other, and because I don't pass as a man anymore.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, for me, I've looked at this guy way too much that I'm kind of embarrassed to say, but if you look at his kind of past, he's very much like a hyperfemme gay boy. Who was, I think, drawn into non-binary because it gives you this kind of victimhood status and loves the attention, loves like always talking about how he's at risk of being murdered, like all this kind of stuff, but at the same time having a successful career in a massive online platform and all this stuff. But I think the Trump administration has given a lot of these people sort of validation to sort of further buy into this kind of concept that our lives are at risk.
Well, honestly, what would trans people talk about?
You were talking earlier about Charlie Bentley Astor, is that her name? Saying she doesn't know any happy trans people. And I think, part of that is due to like, some people have mental health struggles that leads them to thinking they're in the wrong body and stuff like that. But then the other side to it is for people who kind of aren't necessarily mentally ill, just the culture of it itself is really unhappy, because you're telling people, you're at a high risk of suicide, you're at a high risk of murder, society basically hates you, you're the most vulnerable person in society. That's not a key to happiness. But I think these days, like, victimhood and kind of minority status is power in a way. If you have one of those things, it allows you to be challenged less for bad behavior, get special attention. Don't know if you kind of noticed that.
Yeah, I mean, lots of people would say that about feminists, that feminists are always unhappy, but I think that's why this idea of being oppressed, if you're living in the UK, for example, there is no one group in the UK that is systematically oppressed, like by law. Like sometimes once at uni in a feminist philosophy module, I was asking all the other girls, because we were doing oppression, and I said, like, do you guys actually feel oppressed? Like, the word oppressed, does that accurately describe your life? And they were saying yeah, and one person sort of reeled off a load of things that had happened to her to describe why she was oppressed. I was like, those things have all happened to me, and happened to me pretty regularly, but I would not describe myself as being oppressed, because what do we have left to describe women living under the Taliban? I mean, there are real issues for women's rights in general. I mean, this being the biggest thing, I think, in the West for women's rights, like fundamentally, when we can't even define what a woman is.
Yeah.
But
this
I think,
guy right
to be
here.
honest, yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of feminists would hate me for saying this, but I think we've got it pretty good as it goes, and I think we need to remember the fact that, I mean, the fact that you're even allowed to be trans in this country shows that you're, you know, what do you
Yeah. Douglas Murray says it really well in his book, The Madness of Crowds. He says, when, we simultaneously have a society in the West where things are the best they've ever been in terms of equality, but we complain about and talk about systemic issues and racism and this stuff the most. So, a good way to ask someone, if they say like, oh, it's really shit for women in the UK, be like, well, compared to what? Like, what's your reference point?
It's literally, there isn't anywhere better, I would say.
Yeah.
Well, other than maybe you could say in Scandinavian countries, but as it goes, there is not much better than this. And I'm not saying you should settle, but
I mean, Sweden now has the highest rape in all of Europe, so they're slowly.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
I just got my gender changed on my driver's license in the free fucking state of Florida. My God, Ron DeSantis would be screaming right now if he knew about this. This little license now says female on it. It doesn't. This was the last step in changing all of my documents. This was not easy. You're not even supposed to be able to do this in this state. Here's the loophole. Listen up. If you're replacing your driver's license, not renewing it, but replacing it because you lost it, they have to take all of your information from what they consider a primary document. A passport is considered a primary document, and you can self-identify on your passport, which means, loophole, you can self-identify on your Florida fucking driver's license. So my passport says female, and I showed it to them, and they made a bunch of copies, and they had a whole fucking team meeting in the back. I shit you not, there were 8 people that were like looking at it, looking at me, looking back, and I swear, I was like, I just felt like I was gonna cry. It's so humiliating sometimes to be in a hostile state. Like, if you live in a hostile state, you know what I'm talking about. I am wishing all trans people a positive and easy get your documents in order December. And Ron DeSantis, you can suck my trans.
Right. So I don't know if you saw this go viral, but
I didn't. That's the first time I've seen that, I think.
Yeah. So what's interesting about this, right? Okay, you're going to find this hilarious. So he has been doing this like series on how to change your gender ID. And he, like he said, he's decided to change his to female. Because it's safer to not be a non-binary person in this like Trump world that's going to send non-binary people to camps or whatever. He's getting a driver's license in Florida, which is a more conservative state. And his video has been found out and leaked. So the Florida, whoever issues these licenses, basically sent this letter. So they said, please be advised that the sex identifier on the replacement Florida's driver's license issued to you was improperly changed from male to female. The term sex in section blah, blah, blah does not refer to a person's internal sense of his or her gender, role, or identity, but is determined by innate and immutable biological and genetic characteristics. There is no legal authority to change the license's sex identifiers. And then in the third paragraph, they're basically referring to his video where they say, thank you for bringing this error to the department's attention. Your public comments will help ensure compliance with Florida law to prevent similar errors in the future. The department will issue a reminder to county tax collectors that under Florida law, the sex identifier on Florida driver's license is limited to the licensor's sex, not gender identity. The department will conduct an audit to determine whether similar errors have been made previously.
That is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. And then
the way they've worded that.
And then in the final paragraph, they're basically saying that one of the reasons, I think the reason he needed a new license is because he lost his previous one. And they're saying in the final paragraph that, to claim you've lost a license when you've not is fraud.
So how has this letter been published on the internet? Who published it?
I reckon he did, because, this is a great, victimhood opportunity. So yeah, that's a good point, Connie, because I have made mistakes in the past on seeing something very funny and then someone in the comments being like, that this was trolling, and then I'm like, oh, sorry. So let's caveat that with Lids of TikTok posted this, as this was the letter he was sent. It's dated 6th of January 2025. But I just think if it's true, it's absolutely hilarious, because he has.
Yeah, I mean, if that's not real, I hope. I mean, because it was a question I was going to ask, like, why is he being like this? He's saying that he's cheated the system. Is he not? Does he not thought about the fact that if someone sees this, that they're going to realize that?
I mean,
I don't understand him at the end of it. You can suck my trans dick.
Yeah, it's just disgusting, isn't it? Because that's what they say to J.K. Rowling and to some of these feminists, right?
Yeah.
Like she's had comments saying, "I'm gonna rape you with my trans dick," whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just thought it was funny, because if this is true, this is the biggest own and slap in the face.
I hope it's true, and if it's not true, I hope that someone from Florida sees this video and does exactly this.